Hello viewers and welcome again to Discovering Truth, and I am Pastor Forbes here from the Gateway Abiding Word Ministries in the Gambia. We are going to continue our discussion in the new series which we have entitled Communication Styles and also our Gambian Work Ethic. Last week we started, and this is the second episode, part 2. We started by my talking generally about communication, body language, verbal communication, and reminding us that every time there is a problem, a disconnect, it's often, more often than not, it is communication related. And it's not so much the content of the communication, it's not so much the subject of the communication, it's not so much the facts or the perceptions, it's usually the methodology, it's the style, it's the presentation, it's the how, it's the packaging. And so I said, we all get to hear this when there is a problem, an argument, a disconnect, broken down relationship, people go separate ways or something goes wrong. When there is a kind of peace, coming together, restoration, conflict resolution put together, and if there are two parties as per two people, you get to sometimes hear this phrase, and this is the phrase: what offended me, what upset me, what hurt me, what angered me, what annoyed me, what discouraged me was not what you said. So it was not the content, but it was how you said it. It's the mannerism. It's the presentation. It is how it came out of our mouths. And we looked at a scripture which I want to go back to in the Bible, in the book of Proverbs, where it says, a soft answer or a soft word has the power in it to turn away wrath, to stop this avalanche that is about to fall, if you like, to stop what is about to boil over. A soft answer, a soft word, a gentle word, an understanding word has a way of just calming down and turning away wrath. And I remember telling us last week that wrath is one or two steps deeper and more vehement than just anger. And then it says, so let me read it again. Proverbs, in the book of Proverbs, chapter 15 in the Bible, a soft word or a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. And I remember saying it's like when we say you've poured petrol into fire, kerosene into fire. In terms of, instead of dousing down the flames, we now aggravate the situation by harsh words. And then verse 2 says, the tongue of the wise uses knowledge properly, rightly. The wise do not blab. That's why they are wise. There's wisdom. When to talk, where to talk, how to talk, to whom to talk, and if at all you must talk. The tongue of the wise uses knowledge rightly, but the mouth of fools pours forth foolishness. Sometimes you wonder when you read comments and responses on any situation on social media, Gambian social media, and maybe that holds true for other nations. Sometimes you wonder. I always wonder sometimes the level of insult and really harsh tone speaking. Do you really know the person? Many years ago, I think in the early 90s, a friend of mine told me a story, and somebody from North America. and said he was in a place where somebody was going on and on about me, Pastor Forbes, and was like, you know, when they say taking you to the cleaners. And he said he couldn't believe it. So he stopped the person and asked, where does this man live? He said, I don't know. What is his wife's name? I don't know. How many children does he have? I don't know. What's his phone number? I don't know. Have you really talked one-on-one with him, interacted with him? Have you had a meal in his home? Have you seen how he... I don't know. And he said to the person, how come you are speaking with so much anger, so much vitriolic spewing, but you don't know the person? Ladies and gentlemen, in our country, which we and others have called the smiling coast, if the faces are going to continue smiling, over and above all the challenges we have, a soft answer will dissipate the avalanche of rage and wrath that is coming. But a harsh word will stir up the anger, and the tongue of the wise will use knowledge wisely, rightly, correctly, and properly. But it's only the mouth of fools, people who don't think, they don't analyze, they just speak, maybe sometimes from emotion, from anger, forgetting that everything that comes out is like a sword. It can crush, it can destroy, it can even psychologically damage people. But let's go to verse 4. Verse 4 says, a wholesome tongue is a tree of life. A tongue that is wholesome, that is calm, that is discretionary, that is encouraging, that is soothing, that is healing, that edifies and builds up. That kind of a tongue, if we have it in our country, the Bible calls it a tree of life. That you are eating the fruit. The words from a wholesome tongue are like the fruits from a tree of life. You eat and you are reinvigorated, you are revitalized, you live long, you are refreshed, you are re-energized. That is what happens when somebody speaks with a wholesome tongue. But he said, but perverseness in that tongue breaks the spirit, damages the spirit, crushes the spirit. As I said, psychological damage, being traumatized by words. How do we communicate with one another? Especially to people who serve us, whether it's domestic or in all the institutions. And I know we have the mantra that the customer is always right, and that's true. But the truth is, how do we talk as customers, as clients? High and low, big and small, mighty known, powerful, especially mighty known and powerful. You know, if I say I am Pastor Forbes, that is true. If I beat my chest with such vengeance and don't you know I'm Pastor Forbes, it doesn't make me any more Pastor Forbes than the first time I said it. Rather, it might even make people look down on me. We thought this man was decorous, had dignity, was decent, matured, wise. You see, the issue about how we relate to each other, especially in our democracy, as it is trying to find its feet and its direction, should be with grace. There's actually a verse in the Bible in a book called, I think, Colossians or Ephesians, that let your words be seasoned with grace. In every situation and every scenario, somebody has said there are always three possibilities. There is the pro perspective, there is the cons or against perspective, and there is the truth. In every argument, quarrel, disconnect, massive blow up, bust up, breakdown between two parties, there are always three possibilities. The perspective of one person, the perspective of the other person, and the truth. In every legal imbroglio, there are litigants. There is somebody who is praying the court to do something, a plaintiff, and there is somebody who is responding. Sometimes they are co-respondents. And sometimes it's just a matter of perspective. And then there's the truth. And if we bring our nation up, bring our children up, and enshrine in this upbringing, grooming, mentorship, methodology, we will go back to what we all grew up knowing. Please, thank you, excuse me. And as you know, as I know, there are some cultures on our continent. I know a particular culture in the West African continent where the first word that comes out of their mouth in their language is the word translated please. I know another culture where it's the word translated excuse me. In other words, they are always careful not to misrepresent, careful not to harm, not to offend. And sometimes if you don't understand that culture, you even get offended because you ask somebody, what's your name? They say, please, my name is. And you wonder why the please. But I think that's a better way than some of the vitriolic ways we communicate. You know, if you've ever read this beautiful book entitled The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Mr. Stephen Covey, one of those habits goes like this: seek first to understand before you are understood. Don't jump to conclusions and don't bite. Somebody also said, if you don't understand somebody's wisdom, don't criticize them. Don't just assume everybody's stupid. So we go to an office, something is not working, something is slow, we go somewhere. Maybe we should seek first to understand so we communicate properly. But what we see is, sometimes you wonder whether we live in, it's like a military society. Everybody's up on edge. Everybody's pulling power. You go to places and people just want to talk anyhow to anybody and just be rude, be inconsiderate, be condescending, be arrogant. No, a soft answer turns away anger, but a harsh word stirs it up. For those of us in power, authority, influence, those of us who have resources, Those 4 words I just used, power, influence, authority, and resources, do not translate into bullying. They are not meant to bully. As I've said, the more you have power, the less you must use it. Because power is really dangerous and potent. The more you use it, the more you have it, the less you use it. Some centuries ago, historically, there was a particular kingdom, the kingdom of Persia and the kingdom of the Medes. So the Medes and the Persians, part of their law was that if anything is enacted, it cannot be broken, not even by the king himself. So you have to be careful what you say. Because even though sometimes we say, I'm sorry, I take it back, the words have gone like a sharp dagger, like a knife, like a bullet. They've turned emotionally, cut in confidence, broken down self-esteem, broken down self-worth. Maybe somebody's trying to do their best with the little that they have, resources, equipment, tools. Not that they are bad. But sometimes I notice on social media, there's a way we'll insult, and you wonder whether the people that we are insulting, we remember that they also have families. They also want good things. They also want things to work. They want things to work well. If we use Stephen Covey's method by seeking to understand first, is there a problem? Why is this happening like that? Is there anything we can do? Maybe. And I am almost certain that we'll have better outcomes than shouting, do you know who I am? Don't mess with me, you know what I can do? A soft answer turns away wrath. A wholesome tongue is like the tree of life. And a wise person will use their tongue properly. Pastor Forbes, are you saying I should not get angry? I should not get upset when the laws are there, the expectations are there, these people know what they should do? That's true. But as you ask that question, I ask you to, have you been in the situation that you are criticizing before? Where you want to do but you cannot? The tools are not there. The resources are not there. Sometimes you want to do but you are being micromanaged. You can't take initiatives. You are like a puppet on a string. And after some time, you give in. You've given up before. And so you watch things drift. You watch things happen. And when people want results, they don't have the results. They also insult you. And they speak in harsh tones, with great disdain and resentment. Some people even go as far as wishing evil. No. I will never forget the story I was told by the recipient of this vitriolic statement himself. He had come down with a COVID infection, was quarantined, and when he was released, he said to me, he wrote on social media that I was unwell, I'm back, and somebody replied, I wish you had died. Now this is a true story. The gentleman told me himself. And I thought, why would somebody wish somebody else had died? What's the added benefit to you? What does it do to you? Does it make your life any better? Or it gives you an aggravated sense of self-importance that I wished death upon somebody and it happened? Does that sound proper, decent, nice? humane, loving, kind, godly? No. And yes, people may be founded in their hearts, but as I said, there is this side, there is that side, there is always the truth. And if both sides come with their perspectives and they are willing to listen and learn, maybe the misconceptions, the prejudices, the misrepresentations would all change. And it becomes a win-win for us all. So ladies and gentlemen, as we communicate with one another, let's think about it. Our young people that go to school, when school closes, or weekends, or Sundays, or end of term, and the language you hear, maybe somebody's trying to cross the road and you're trying to just toot to them to watch out, and you know what comes out of their mouths, you're shocked. Is that the smiling coast? No. Definitely not. So as we communicate with one another in this country, let's communicate in love, in understanding, communicate out of a desire, and respect, especially respect. You know, we all travel to other countries, particularly the Northern Hemisphere. There are places, airports, post offices, hotels, restaurants. There are places of service and embassies. Sometimes you see a sign there that if you verbally abuse any of our staff, you'll be fined up to this and you can be prosecuted criminally, etc., etc. You see, because somebody is a house help doesn't mean they're second class, second grade. Because somebody is a driver, a chauffeur, because somebody is a day guard, night guard, a gardener, because somebody is a traffic warden, because somebody is serving behind a desk, does not mean they are slaves and must be spoken to with disdain, disrespect, especially when sometimes the person speaking to them can be even younger than their own child. The person you are speaking to could be your mother, your father. We don't want to address one another in ways like that. Rather, we want to be understanding, loving, kind, and maybe just take a step back and wonder why. The people who clean our streets, clean our toilets, the people who dispose of our waste, are they less people than us? No. Do they like the nice things of life like you do? Yes. And that is why sometimes you also hear people say, I only take it, Pastor, because it's the job. If not for this job, this woman would not have seen me to be able to say this. If not for this job, this man wouldn't have been able to stand before me and say what he said. It's because of the job. It's because of the uniform. It's because of the position. It's because of the function. Yet all of us have uniforms of a sort. A father uniform, a mother uniform, a son uniform, a husband uniform. We have uniforms. But we don't go to bed in those uniforms. We change. You see a Boeing 747, 2 decks, lands massively at the airport. After some time, you're going to find a captain, a gentleman, or a lady, or a group of them with their hats, their uniforms, and they look very stately. But they're not going to sleep with that bag, briefcase in their hand, sleep with the hat. No, they're going to change and they're going to be them. And so that uniform represents an institution, an organization, a vision, something. So when we speak, we must bear that in mind. Do people make mistakes? Yes, we all do. Sometimes maybe a medical mistake, a health mistake, a financial mistake, a relationship mistake, a vending mistake, even a miscommunication, information mistake. We should be able to be calm, speak to each other with respect, with good regard, with love, and if need be, when we find out that we are wrong, to say, I'm sorry. A soft word turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The person who is wise will use their words judiciously, properly, and sparingly, because it says only the fool will keep talking and talking and talking. Then it goes on to say, a wholesome tongue, a tongue that's guarded, is cautious and careful, not just what it says, but how it says what it says. Even where and when it says what it says. That wholesome tongue is like a tree of life. People want to hear you speak, because when you speak, it's wholesome, it's soothing, it's encouraging, it's edifying, it's uplifting, it's healing. But if there is perverseness in it, then you crush the spirit, you wound the heart, you break the personality, you traumatize the person, and sometimes they cannot rise again, because their sense of self-esteem and self-worth has been broken and crushed. I want to stop here and continue next week by the grace of God. Let us remember, a soft answer will always drive wrath away, and a wholesome tongue is a tree of life. Let us use those two in all that we do. And as Mr. Stephen Covey will say, seek first to understand before you are understood, because your perspective, your prejudice, your opinion may not be what it is. May God continue to help us and keep us so that we'll really be the smiling coast. God bless you. Until I come your way next week by the grace of God with part 3, let's think about these things, and I'm sure God will enlighten us. Have a good day. Discover